All right, so I want to go over how to divide polynomials using long division. Division is going to be a big part of what we do in this chapter with polynomials. And you're going to learn two different ways of doing it. Long division is one of those. So the long division algorithm is basically the same one you learned when you were a kid. You divide, you multiply, you subtract, you bring down. We talked about that in class. So with polynomials, you adjust the algorithm slightly. You divide first terms, multiply by the entire divisor, subtract from the dividend, and bring down the necessary terms. And I'll show you that in an example. So here's an example I've written. And I'm asking you to divide the polynomial on top by the polynomial on bottom. So we're going to set this up just like we would have when we were kids. We're going to build the little house. And underneath the house goes the dividend, x cubed plus 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. And on the outside of the house goes the divisor, which is x minus 3. Now, we're going to start by dividing first term. So the first term in the divisor is x, and the first term in the dividend is x cubed. So we're going to divide x cubed by x, and that's going to give us x squared. And we put that on the top. That's the first step of the algorithm. Now the second step of the algorithm would be to multiply that thing by the entire divisor. So this thing by the entire divisor. So I'm going to multiply that like that. And you don't have to do this off to the side. I just find it helpful to do it that way sometimes. You get x cubed minus 3x squared. And I'm going to write that underneath the dividend in the appropriate spots. Meaning, so that the like terms basically line up with each other. So that's the multiply by the entire divisor step. Then we're going to subtract that from the dividend. So we're going to take this quantity right here and subtract it from the dividend. Basically, that's why we lined up the like terms. So the x cubed minus x cubed will give you 0x cubed. Now you always want that first term to be 0. That's why we take the first step of the algorithm, so we're assured that it's going to be the same thing that we're subtracting, so it goes away. And then 3x squared minus negative 3x squared is 6x squared. Now be careful there because sign errors are the biggest difficulty to keep up with in long division. So that's the subtract from dividend step. I meant to change color on that, so we'll change that to green. Kind of nasty looking. And then your final step is to bring down the necessary terms. Now, by necessary terms, I mean I want the same number of terms in this thing down here as I have in my divisor. So I want 2 terms. I have 1 term sitting there, so I need to bring down the one next term. And then I repeat the process. Divide first term. So this time, x is going to go into 6x squared. And when you divide 6x squared by x, that gives you 6x, and that goes on top. It's positive 6x. So then I'm going to multiply that by the entire divisor. That's 18, I promise. And then that goes below. And now I'm going to subtract that. And again, the first terms should go away, and they do. And then negative 5x minus negative 18x would be 13x. And then I want to bring down the necessary terms. I need 2 terms. I have 1, so I bring down 1 term. And I repeat the process. So 13x divided by x is 13. 13 times x minus 3 is 13x minus 39. When I subtract that, that would give me 43. And I have nothing left to bring down. So this number that I'm left with is my remainder. Now, when you were doing long division as a kid, you might have written something like R43. We're going to do the grown-up thing here. We're going to basically write this as a mixed polynomial. So we take our quotient, write it down, and then to that we add the remainder over the divisor. That's sort of like writing this thing as a mixed number, because remember a mixed number is basically take the remainder and put it over the thing you're dividing by. So this is the quotient of what we get in that problem. So I'm going to do another example for you with a little less narration. So I'm going to build the house. Now, one thing you need to notice in this problem is when you look at the dividend right here, I'm missing an x cubed term. I have x to the fourth, and it jumps to 2x squared. Now, when you're doing long division, it will make your life so much easier when you're missing terms if you will put placeholders there to mark that you're missing them. So let me show what I mean by that. I have an x to the fourth term. I don't have any x cubed terms, so to make everything line up properly, I'm going to put a 0x cubed in there. And then 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. If I were missing any terms in the divisor, like this was x squared plus 2 instead of having the negative 3x, I'd also put a 0x in there. But I'm not missing 1 in this case. So here we go. Divide. X to the fourth divided by, that should be an x squared. I wrote that wrong. X to the fourth divided by x squared is x squared. X squared times that trinomial is x to the fourth minus 3x cubed plus 2x squared. I'm going to subtract. The first terms go away as they always should. This gives me 3x cubed, and this gives me 0x squared. Now I'm going to go ahead and write that out. I'm not just going to leave it blank. So I've got 2 terms sitting there. I need 3, so I'm going to bring down the next one. 3x cubed divided by x squared is 3x. 3x times that divisor would give me 3x cubed minus 9x squared plus 6x. I'm going to subtract. And that first term goes away. This gives me 9x squared. This would give me negative 11x. I have 2 terms. I need to bring down the third. 9x squared divided by x squared is 9. Multiply that out. Subtract. Excuse me. 16x minus 15. I have nothing left to bring down. So I'm going to write my answer. X squared plus 3x plus 9, which was the quotient, plus the remainder over the divisor. And that is long division. So go practice a few on your own.